a big company like that gets away with it. I don't have no idea. But there, I don't have such a problem. I think the price, I don't have, from what my research is there, I'm paying him cash. He decides not to charge me tax. I have no idea whether he's going to end up paying it or not. It's if you made the deal.
People know that 100%.
No, but that's
like
what I would tend to agree with what you're saying now. You ask him the price of a safer. She said it's $20. You take out a $20 bill and give it to him. So he could tell you it's $22.50. He doesn't tell you it's $20.
Right. Yeah.
If you give him the credit card, it's $22.50. So,
Right.
but you didn't ask him. You didn't tell him.
Yeah. So
technically, you still owe taxes.
Technically, what?
You would still owe taxes.
What do you mean?
When a storekeeper takes taxes, he's taking your taxes as a temporary place and then giving it to the government. It's not their taxes. You owe the taxes. He's the one who's just passing it along. A sales tax is on the consumer, not on the shopkeeper.
Listen, Akiva, I'm sure there's many.
No, it's on the hefsa, not the gavra.
On the hefsa.
It's on me. I owe a sales tax. I owe
on the hefsa. Buying something.
Right, I understand. I owe taxes on that.
Akiva, I'm sure that there's many stores that when you pay them cash and they charge you the tax, right? I'm not so sure.
Okay, but that's if they indicate that they're taking their sales tax and they don't send it to the government, that's on them.
Right. So here you didn't make a deal. You paid the thing, right?
I don't know, like Ryan said, if he's telling you it's $20, that's the sale.
So he's waiving the tax. It's his achrayus, meaning he's really giving you an 8%.
I don't think it's his achrayus. You could technically pay the government the tax.
No, but he's charging you 20. If you pay him cash, he's giving you an 8% discount.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's looked at that way.
I don't know how we look at it. You're the accountant.
I never dealt with the IRS when it comes to that. I don't know if they come after you.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly how that works. Either way, but the point is to stay away from trying to cause people, not only stay away from you lying, stay away from causing other people to lie. Okay, so now we're on another well, today's daf is not so wild, but tomorrow's daf is another brilliant guy who's making all sorts of weird nizirus calculations. All right, so we're on Yud Beis Amud Beis.
Naftali, before Yaakov starts, instead of worrying about the bugs.
Yes, I'm here.
Adam is Eitz Asad. It's Rosh Hashanah for people also, not just for Baksa. Adam Eitz Asad. So you're Rosh Hashanah for trees, which is Adam is Eitz Asad.
Okay, so what school are you telling me to do?
I didn't tell him that.
He's telling you
what it says in the Svod. Well, have to up with the schooler. You know what the school is? Give me $1,000. That'll be a schooler for both of us, okay? Come, give me 1,000. Give me 10 $100 bills tomorrow after Shachos. It'll be a schooler for both of us. If you want a schooler.
Will you go to a caver and daven for him if he gives that to you?
There's a few. There's some far close to Far Rockaway.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So Zok the Mishnah, yeah. Hareini Nazir l'kshia li ben. A guy says, I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a son. Right? So Tosfos says, what's going on here? He's saying, Pirush, Haidah v'shevach l'Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's as a Haidah, Ta'akadosh Baruch Hu, Shechanani v'zikani v'noyel li ben. Right? That he was Zaychet, that he has a son, Hareini Nazir. He's a Nazir. Right? So it's an interesting way of thanking Hashem.
Where did you just read from?
Tosfos. Tosfos Hareini Nazir. Third Tosfos up from the bottom. Right? So again, he as a show of Hakaras Atayv, right? To the Rebbeinu Shalom, Haidah v'shevach l'Kadosh Baruch Hu. So he decides to become a Nazir. Right? So those that hold that becoming a Nazir is not the right thing, that l'chara doesn't sound like, I don't know how they're going to fit with this Gemara. Right? Because here he is making himself into he's doing shevach v'haidah, and memela he's withholding himself from wine and haircuts and becoming tummy. Okay, but one thing for sure you see that a shevach talk, you want to do a shevach haidah the Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't mean you throw $100,000 bar mitzvah, right? Or a big fat bris. You make yourself a nazir. I don't know if exactly the school of people, Naftali, would be into this school, right? Of a shvach talk the Rabban Shalom, and then stop drinking wine instead of starting to drink wine. But okay, yeah. But anyway, so that's what he did. So he said he's a nazir that the Kashil Ben.
It's interesting that Shimshon's parents or his mother was like, my son will be a Nazir. His father wasn't like, if I have a son, I'll be a Nazir. This Mishna is different. He's saying Shevach Vodah for himself as opposed to this child.
To make his child into a Nazir. That's very interesting. That's an interesting point, right? Push
You
it
should
off
send
to the
this to
kids.
what? You should send this to ECAP. That's what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so
But see, Yaakov,
he
the
said-
same thing is true with Chana. Like when Chana had Shmuel, like she had, it's sort of like she had Shmuel, but she like immediately gave him to Eli. Like it's like this is
right, same type thing, 100%.
Yeah.
The same type thing, yeah. Yeah. So Hareini Nazir l'kishiyah ben. I'm going to become a Nazir when I have a son. The Noilulay ben, and he has a son. Harei a Nazir. He's a Nazir. There's no chiddush to that line. L'chayra. Right? The guy says, if I have a son, I'm going to become a Nazir. So when he has a son, he becomes a Nazir. Okay, we'll have to see. The Gemara is going to ask, what's that? What's the chiddush? Noilulay bas. But if he has a daughter, a tumtum v'andreganus, or he has a tumtum is one that doesn't have any simonim, and andreganus is both a male and a female. So einoi nazir, then he's not a nazir because he said that if he has a son, these are not sons. And andreganus means it's a beri b'fnei atzma, like we've learned. It's not you're going to say, oh, an andreganus is a son. It's a son and a daughter, right? No,
No one's saying that when he said Ben, he meant the child.
So the Gemara is going to
all the things that we said, all of the things we meant, this, that. That's the classic one right there.
Naftali, good. Yeah, the Gemara is gonna entertain that. Very good. Right? Im Omar Kishiyeh li Vlad, but if he says when I have a Vlad, meaning I have a baby, Afilu Noidel Bas, you gotta love that lashon. Afilu Noidel, don't listen to that, Jesse. Afilu Noidel Bas, even if he has a daughter, Tumtum v'adreganus harei and nazir, he's a nazir. Meaning even if he has a daughter, like I know Jesse disagrees vehemently with this, but as he should.
Jesse, you would like what my son did years ago. You see, Yaakov, when Zevi was in Koil many years ago, so one of the chevra they all went over to him and they gave him mazel tov. He had a girl, so there was a Taimani fellow in Beis Medrash, and he went over. He said, "What's with the mazel tov?" And he said, "Well, the fellow he had a girl this morning." So he went. The Taimani guy went like that, and he didn't go over to him. Zevi jumped on his face. He went toe to toe with that Taimani guy.
I'm sure he. Yeah, it sounds. Yeah. That's interesting. Anyways, well, this raya is this Mishna is a raya to him. Right? He says if you have a baby, so even if he has a daughter or tumdun andreganus, that's considered, then he becomes a nazir. Fine. We'll see more about that. On to Amud Aleph now. Hipila ishtoi. Let's say the wife. So hipila could sometimes be to translate as a miscarriage, or it could be a stillborn, or it could be whatever it is, but the baby did not survive the pregnancy. Right? Yeah, so Taisa, okay, we'll see exactly what went on over here. But some are mashma that it was a full pregnancy, some are not mashma, we'll see in the Gemara. Ain't a nazir. Then he's not a nazir but it's a safek, right? Meaning, how do you know that this fetus, let's call it a fetus, was not viable, right? If it's viable, so then he has to be a nazir because he had a vlad. If it was not viable, then he's not a nazir. So we're going to say in the Gemara that this shita that says he's not a nazir is going according to Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that a safek nazir is not a nazir. Remember we had this 5-6 blot ago, right? Akiva brought this up that maybe this Reb Shimon is an eight. Remember we said the case that was going to come up. Two guys are sitting and they're gambling on whether a pile of the kri, whether the pile of grain has 100 kur. So one guy says if it has 100 kur, I'm going to become a nazir, and then the kur gets stolen. So they have no idea whether this guy is really a Nazir or not. So Rabbi Yehuda said, okay, he's not a Nazir. And Reb Shimon, and the reason, and you can't make a safek Nazir because if he brings the korbanos and he was not supposed to be a Nazir, then he's bringing kachim into the Beis Hamikdash. Right, so that's the problem. That is the problem with Nazir. So Reb Shimon, ben kayama. Reb Shimon has an eitzah. He says, let him say, if the baby that the woman miscarried was a ben kayama, and meaning it was viable, and then somehow it died, harayani nazir chayva. So then I'm a nazir chayva because I had a child. Vim lav, and if not, harayani nazir nedava. And if not, then I'm a nazir nedava. I'm a voluntary nazir, meaning a standard nazir, and therefore, and then he could bring the korbanos, right? So Reb Shimon is giving an eitzah.
He did this after he already made the original neder.
He made a neder that if my wife has a baby, I'm going to be a nazir. Then she had a miscarriage, so we have no idea if that was a viable baby.
So that was one nizirus. If you go like Reb Shimon, if Reb Shimon she does it, it's not your nizirus safek. How does this help right now? That was one, and here you're making a new Kabbalah. What does one have to do with the other? That nizirus misveka you're going to be stuck with. How are you able to rectify it right now?
But no, he's saying that you could rectify it by doing this mamonosha.
You already were nizirus misveka. You go in to change what your original neder was.
Reb Shimon holds that a safek nizirus anyways. You have to be machmer.
I agree.
But you also have to be a machmer. So I just want to make sure the islands understand. Reb Shimon holds the guy's a nazir for the rest of his life. That's what Reb Shimon Batzim holds, right? He's a nazir for the rest of his life because we have to be more machmer on a safek than a vada, right? Because what's he supposed to do? He can't bring the korbanos because maybe it's kachim b'chutz. On the other hand, but maybe he's a nazir. So now he's a nazir that can't bring the korbanos. So then Reb Shimon says, but I have an eitzah. I could say maman of shach. If I was liable, so then I'm a nazir for that. And if not, I'm a nazir as a volunteer, and therefore I'm good. That's basically.
Didn't we say this doesn't work? I thought we said back when we brought this svar like that you can't go ahead and add to this nizirus with another right, I don't know nether. Yeah, didn't we say it doesn't work this way?
Right. So we said that the rush said that the rush over there 5 blot ago. What was it? I think it was 5 blot ago.
Something like that.
Says that theoretically you could do it, but it's
if you become tummy beforehand, right?
Right. Yeah, you have to do. Yeah, there was an issue with it. Well, let's see in the Gemara. But the Gemara is going to discuss it a little bit more. But anyways, so that's Reb Shimon's eitzah. Do a maman of shach. Fine. Chazar v'yolda, but let's say she goes and she has another baby. Now again, remember this guy made himself a nazir if his wife has a baby. So then she had a miscarriage. Then that tnai of the nizirus wasn't over. Right? He said if my wife has a baby, he didn't give a time limit. So now she miscarried the first one, but then she had a baby. Okay, so now he has to become a nazir. But Reb Shimon, right? So Chazar v'yolda is a nazir. Reb Shimon Omer, but now Reb Shimon has a problem because which one is the nizirus? So Yomer says then he has to also make a tnai. Yomer Imar Rishon ben Kayama. If the first one was a ben Kayama, Harishan Chayva, then the first nizirus is a Chayva. Is a nedava, and this is a nedava. Imlav, and if not, Harishan nedava, v'zeh Chayva. The first one was a nedava because the first baby was not liable. The first fetus was not viable, and this one is going to be the chiyuv, right? So Reb Shimon's basically saying to get around this guy being a nazir for the rest of his life, he could make this tnai. Right?
Why is it assumed that you're making the nizirus for any child being born? Isn't it? Why don't we assume that it's bedafka the first like that child that his wife is pregnant with? Why are
maybe he had 6 babies already with this lady. Who says?
Well, why would you think there wasn't?
Maybe he's only vowing for that specific child, and that specific child died, or whatever it is.
Right, but it's l'chayr. He didn't say that. I mean, at least the Mishna doesn't say he said that, right? The Mishna just says if my wife has a baby, so okay. So there was no time limit. That's why I'm still understanding it. There was no time limit on it. So Mamela, that's it, right? Fine. So okay. So Zog the Gemara. Hi, my memra. What are you saying in the ratio, right? What does it say? Right? The safek says, a guy says, I'm going to become a nazir, have a baby boy, and his wife has a baby boy, he becomes a nazir. Okay, I mean that's pashut, right? Hi my the memra. Hi my the memra. What is this coming to teach us? The Gemara says mishum seifa. You need the first part because of the seifa. Bas tumtum v'adreginus ain't a nazir. If he has a daughter or a tumtum v'adreginus, he's not a nazir because he said only that if he has a boy. So the Gemara says pshita. That's also pashut. Yeah.
We're saying that it has to be a viable child, right? So when does the nizirus start? Should it start by the pidyon haben? Shouldn't start by the first day. That's why we don't make the pidyon haben.
The only thing is there you're doing it because you don't want to take money from the kohen if the baby doesn't live. But stam, there is a chazaka that most babies live. So I'm not sure how. I mean, you can't go charge the kohen money if the kohen says, "Well, I'm not paying you money. I don't know if he's going to live." Right? But the assumption is that the baby does live. So I'm not sure. I hear the horror, but I'm not sure how if it has the same parameters. So anyway, so the Gemara says pshita. So ma the same like she'evne hudaka amar, like Naftali was saying. When it says ben, he didn't mean he wants a son. When he has something that will build up his house, hudaka amar kamash malan, tnai, that's not what he meant. He meant ben, and not like when he builds up his house. So therefore, it has to be dafka son. Fine. Vim amar kishiyah li vlad, and if he says when I will have a child. So then when he has a child, either a daughter, androgynous, tumtum, it's a child. It's still a child. It may not have an identity, but it's a child. So he has to be a nazir. So it says pshita. So Mao, the same of vlad the michashav beini inchi be'inon. You need to have a vlad that's chashav amongst people, right? Which all the mefarshim say that a ben is considered chashav by people, right? Like the story you said about. A daughter is not considered chashuv. Kamash malon, that any child is considered a child, even though it may not be considered chashuv. Right? So again, the havamina is that it needs to be a chashuv a kid, which would mean a male. And then we say, no, it doesn't mean it has to be a chashuv, it could be any kid. Right? Fine. I told the Olam this shayla that I asked Rav Nata when a couple was every Yom Kippur and a couple was doing the treatment to get pregnant, and you have a choice whether you're going to pick a boy or a girl. So they wanted to know, are they allowed to pick? Should they pick? If they do pick, which one should they pick? So I had thought, Pashut, you go with a boy. I mean, if all these Gemaras are saying that it's better to have a boy. So then, l'chayra, if it's biyad, you should have a boy. Now, if they already had a boy and they need to be mekayim prudavu, okay, so then a girl. But if all things being equal, it seems like a boy should go. So that's what I had thought, and that's what I told him. And Rav Nata on Yom Kippur was not buying it. He didn't buy it at all. He said he didn't think that there was any more reason to choose a boy. He didn't tell me why. Right, but that's what he had said. Okay, fine. Weiter.
Yaakov, aren't there Gemaras that say it's good to have a bas tchila?
To have what?
That it's good to have a bas tchila. It's good to have a daughter first. The Gemara goes through different reasons why.
Yeah, but the Gemara still say you're supposed to daven for a boy. So I don't know. I have no idea how these things work.
Yeah.
I got a bracha to have a girl first because girls are useful and boys are useless. And it was a really powerful bracha.
It worked, right?
I think that Gemara is a consolation prize.
And you're proving it right, Jesse. All your daughters are trained out to bring you a glass for the bourbon. They all know that. Baruch Hashem.
There you go.
Yeah, they know
So
how
I don't
useless
know.
he is.
Yeah. It's I don't know how you understand all these Gemaras, to be honest. I don't know. But because here it doesn't mean that a boy is better. It's just saying what it is in the eyes of the people. The people think it's more chashuv to have a boy. It doesn't mean that that's actually correct. That's just what people think. Right? Okay, weiter. Hipila ishtoi ein nazir. If his wife has a miscarriage, then he's not a nazir. Man katanila. Who's the one that learned this? Rabbi Yehuda decree. It's Rabbi Yehuda of the Kri, which we mentioned in the Mishnah. We said that again. The case was that if two guys are sitting in front of a Kri, it doesn't even have to be two guys; it can be one guy. And he says, if there's 100 kur in this pile, then I'm going to be a nazir. And then it gets stolen. So we have no idea what the story is there. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's a safek nizirus, and we're makel. It's the same thing here. We have no idea. He made a neder. If his wife has a child, he's a nazir. We have no idea if it was viable or not. So therefore, it's a safek nizirus, and then we're makel. Right? Yeah. So then Reb Shimon Aimer, but Reb Shimon says, Yoimer im haya ben kayama harei nazir chayva bim lav harei nazir nedava. So Reb Shimon says, Reb Shimon really holds he's a nazir for the rest of his life, right? Because he's a safek. So, but then he says that you have this way out. You could say if the baby was viable, so then I'm a nazir for that, and if the baby's not viable, so I'm going to be a voluntary nazir, right? Fine. So then. So if a guy says, I'm going to be a nazir when I have a son, and then she miscarried, korban. Now again, this is I'm not sure here if epila means she miscarried or it was born and then it died. I'm not sure because the next line here is v'hifrish korban. Then he was mafresh a korban. He separated a korban, right? So now that korban he's only chayav for if this baby lived. So okay, so I'm not sure why did he separate the korbanos, because I guess he anticipated the baby living. That's
right.
what I'm assuming.
No, right. Taisha says she gave birth to twins.
Yeah, well, because that's going to be the next line. But the child's, what happened after the first one? Why was he separating the korbanos?
Well, Taisha says he only separates the korban because it's a raya from the other one. Taisha is going.
Well, no, you jumping the gun on that. We got to wait.
I'm saying, but that's the var. That's why he's separating korbanos.
Yeah, but Lamaisa. Well, I mean, shouldn't he wait like Rabban was saying? Wait till it's 30 days old, right?
I mean, the way Taisha says it, it's a chacha from the fact he has another child. The chacha, the other one is a bar.
Okay, we're gonna get to that. But anyways, okay, whatever it is, the baby died and he separated korbanos, right? The chazra of the yolda. Then she went and had another baby, right? Meaning twins, right? So this guy had a busy day. He had a baby. The baby died. Let's say that's the way it went. For whatever reason, he separated korbanos, and then she had another baby. I'm assuming back then they didn't know whether they were having twins, right? Or maybe they did know. So anyway, Mahu, what's the din now? Because if the first baby was not viable, so then he separated these animals for no shaloi kedin. So you can't say that they have kedusha because they don't have kedusha. And if that's the case, it can't be going on the second baby because these animals were separated before that baby was born, right? So what's going on here? Again, she had a baby, the baby died. Then he separated animals for the nizirus of what he thought was the first baby. Then she had a second baby. Now he had said that when he has a baby, he's going to be a nazir. The problem was that he pre-separated the animals before he was chayiv in nizirus, but that all depends on whether the first baby was viable or not. Viable, I keep saying viable, right? Because the question if it was viable. If the first baby was viable, so he's a nazir, and those animals are fine that he separated. But if the first baby was not viable, he separated animals before his nizirus even started. That's no good, right? So that's the Gemara's shaila. So Gemara says, "Aliba demand." Who are you asking according to? Yeah, Aliba to Reb Shimon. If it's according to Reb Shimon, who holds he's a nazir anyways, mighty baile. Reb Shimon safek nizirus lachmu. Reb Shimon holds that he's after that first baby he's chayiv, right? So therefore the korbanos are legitimate korbanos. Bella, what must it be? I'll leave it to Rabbi Yehuda. So it must be going according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar safek nizirus lachmu, who holds that a safek nizirus will makel. So then what's it in? My chiddush, I like chiddush. Is it chiddush or not? right? Meaning, do we say that that first baby was viable or not, right? Meaning, now this is what Akiva was saying. The way we're trying to understand it is, since there is a baby now that's a twin that did last, do we say that the gestation of the twins, meaning the pregnancy happened at the same time, and since we have one baby that's living, so it must be that its twin also could have lived, and therefore it's a ben kayoma, and therefore he's a nazir even from the first baby? Or do we say that that's not necessarily so? Right? Yes, it's very interesting scientifically. Isn't this what we call the difference between identical twins and non-identical twins? Where's Dr. Coleman on here tonight? He's not on. Right? Meaning, was twins two separate pregnancies, or is it one pregnancy that what do you say, doctor?
Identical twins are an egg that's split.
Right. So
I have a little
the
experience
question
with
is,
this.
there you go. That's right.
They bring it down. It's called mitosis. That's what they call it when it splits.
Okay. I don't recognize that that word, but
Maternal twins, two eggs are fertilized at the same time.
correct. So that's the question. Do we look at this that we can prove that the baby that died really was a ben kayama because its twin lasted? I can't say I understand medically what's going on here, because what says one could have been viable, one could not have been viable, right? Why do we have to say one piggybacks on the other?
I mean, we have the Siamese twin cases where one is definitely not viable, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah. So I'm not sure medically what's going on here, but it seems to be that that's part of the shaila here. So the Gemara says, "My nafkamina." What's the difference? Either way, the guy has to bring the korban, right? According to Rabbi Yehuda, if the first fetus was not a fetus, the second one for sure is. The second one's alive. So either way, he has to bring korbanos. So the Gemara says, no, the difference is he allowed to cut the hair of the animal or use the animals for work, right? Because if the animals, he was mafresh the animals in between the birth of the first and the birth of the second, then it would be usher, but then it's not, it would be usher, but he can't use them, right? So therefore it's stuck in no man's land. So Gemara says, take who, right?
Would he be able to be makish it
to the
again for
shayla.
the second birth? According
What
to
are you
Yehuda?
saying?
Would he be able to Mamanoshap use it for the second birth, the one that's definitely Kayama? Meaning, at the end of the day, practically speaking, we're not sure if the first one is Makadishan or not. Would he be able to go ahead and take this carbon Mamanoshap and this animal and use it as the carbon for the second one? It's definitely Mechayim in his ears.
It seems like you can't.
Why not?
Because it was separated not for that nizirus.
But there's only one nizirus. He's Mamanoshap Mechayiv in nizirus. Whether because of the first birth or the second birth.
No, because if he was separated it shaloi kedit, meaning if he separated after the first baby was born, before
So it did
the
nothing.
second. What do you mean?
It did nothing. There's no keddush on it.
No, yeah, it was. He separated them as korbanos. It was just
Right. So
another
Mamanoshap.
korbanos.
If the first one's Mechayim, so the keddush is chal. If the first one's not Mechayim, so fine. The second one's Mechayim and it's zero, so he can separate for the second one.
No, but I think that when he separated as korbanos, but not for the right one. So Mamela,
Mamanoshap, either keddush is chal or it's not. So let it
no,
be
that's
for
what
the
it's
second
saying.
one.
It's not. That's. I think that's exactly what it's saying. It's
Your
not.
Mechayim zirus it's a timing question.
Huh?
It's a timing question. It's not. Everyone agrees you're Mechayim Nazirus at one point. Question is when you separate it, were you Mechayim Nazirus? So
there's a Mishna in the 5th parak of in Zvachim. He said it lishmoy, and we say shelo alo l'baal l'shem choyva. It doesn't mean it's it's just if it doesn't go up for his choyv, then he's stuck with the korban and he's chaser a korban.
If I
This is
separate
l'shlo
something
l'shmo, the shlo l'shmo. Kol Zvach in the first part, because Kol Zvach is nizirus Shimon, Kesherim, El Laban, L'Shem Chayba. So if it didn't go up, he can't just say, okay, I'm going to use it for something else. I'm going to use it for something else. It just doesn't go up for the chayv that he had the first time.
He didn't have a chayv the first time.
He created the chayv by saying, this is a korban.
But you know, he's makish for his specific chayv. He's already
it's a toys.
Okay, fine. So then nothing's in the kedusha nachal. That's the side of the Gemara, right? If he wasn't a chayv, the kedusha nachal, it's mutter, right? So then use it for the second one. I'm not talking why you can use it for the second one.
No, it's I don't know.
There's no kedusha, right? There's a side of the Gemara. There's no kedusha. So then he could use it for a second. The nizirus that's chal 5 minutes later when his wife gives birth again.
No, but the problem is that she had another baby.
And now he's mechayev in nizirus.
Because but we don't know if the nizirus went to the first. Which one is it for? For the first
either
baby
way,
or the second baby?
If the carbon was for the original nizirus that was chal 5 minutes earlier because of the ben kayama, so then it's kaddish then. And if it's not because it was not a ben kayama, so go ahead and be makdish it again for the right one. The second, the nizirus that was chal 5 minutes later. I'm not that
is what's going to happen. But the shaila is
what's the shaila? When the kedusha is chal? That's the only practical.
Correct. Yes. Meaning, if he wanted to take
if he takes back his word.
Yeah, I don't want to take back his word. The question is,
he doesn't want to use his animal anymore.
Yeah.
That'll be the only difference because Lamaisa you could still use it for the second nizirus, no?
Correct, but in the interim, could he have used it? Right? Yeah. But anyway, so the Gemara ends up with a teiku. Fine. Which I was mechamed to the Gemara. I had to teiku before even understanding the question. Right? Fine. Okay. Right. That's not the only teiku tonight. We got another teiku, but it doesn't use the lashon teiku, which also is interesting. Fine. Next.
You could have punched in on Jeopardy before they asked the question.
100%. So then Bamine Ben Rachumi me Abaya, a very interesting name, right? Ben Rachumi asked from Abaya, Hareni Nazir l'kashiyah ben. A guy says, I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a son. V'shama chaveroi, and his friend hears it. V'omar, and he says, V'olai. And he says, and on me too. Right? So again, one guy says, when I have a baby boy, I'm going to be a Nazir. And then the other guy says, V'olai, which some say it's V'ani. But we'll see that the Gemara is going to change it anyways. So he says V'olai. So the question is, what did this guy mean when he said and me? On me. Did he mean that I'm such a good friend of yours and I'm going to be so happy when you have a baby boy that I'm also going to be a Nazir? I'm going to be along with you. Or did he mean that when I have a baby boy, just like you made a thing that if you have a baby boy, you're going to be a Nazir. I'm saying it about myself, that if I have a baby boy, I'm also going to be a Nazir, right? Meaning what did he mean? Just to mimic his friend? Or did he mean that it's going to be his own thing? So Mao, dibure mashma, is he going on his dibur, right? Meaning that he's also going to be a Nazir if his friend has a baby. Gufe mashma, or is it meaning on his own guf? Meaning if he has a baby, then he'll also become a Nazir. Fine. So says, and if you say that he meant that he himself will become a Nazir if he himself has a baby, then Amar Areni Nazir li ben. When the guy says, he says, I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a son. V'shama chaver v'amar va'ani, right? And he says va'ani, right? Which the Mesilas Yesharos switched it. But he says, me, Mao, anafshei komar, is that going on himself? Which means that if I have a baby, I'm going to be a Nazir. I'm sorry, hachi komar. Rechimna lach kavasech. I have rachmanas on you, just like you have rachmanas on yourself. In the same way, you're gonna be so happy that if you have a baby boy, that you're going to be a Nazir, I'm going to be so happy for you that I'm going to be a Nazir too. So imtim tzalaimra kol ba'anfe. Then if you're going to say that if it was done in front of him on Talmud Beis now, ksifalei milsa, it would be embarrassing for him, right? Meaning your friend who's waiting to have a boy says, I'm going to become a nazir if I have a boy. And then you go over to him and say, I'm also going to become a nazir if I have a boy. So that's doesn't sound too sensitive, right? It sounds inconsiderate because this guy, he's davening that should have a boy. He's saying, I want a boy so much that I'm going to become a nazir. And then you go and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing about me. If I have a boy, I'm also going to become a nazir, right? So that's a little bit insensitive. Like, why are you thinking about yourself? I'm here to have a conversation about me, about that I want to have a baby boy, and I'm willing to become a nazir after that. And then you go talking about yourself, right? So must be that when by him saying a lie, it can't be that he's doing that. What he's doing is he's saying, no, if you have, I care so much for you that if you have a baby boy, right?
Well, maybe he
Yeah.
didn't think of it. Then he said to himself, "Oh, that's a very nice thing to give Shabbat to the Barsham to become a Nazir." So his friend gave him an eitzah toiva. He's so it's
Right.
it's not talking about himself. He's never thought of it to say such a thing.
Yeah, but right. So the Gemara is bringing that there's a tzad though that it would be insensitive. So the guy wouldn't want to do that in front of him. I'm not sure if that's what would that be considered insensitive? I could hear it. I could hear both ways. So either way, so he said maybe that's too embarrassing. But Omar, Hareini Pliny Ben. But if the first guy says, you know what, Yenim, he's waiting for a baby boy, right? I'm going to become a nazir if he has a baby boy. V'shama Chavera, and his friend hears this, Ba'amar, and he says, Vani, and me too. So now what did he mean by that, Vani? When he's not in front of the guy, because then neither one of them is in front of the person who they want to have a baby boy, right? He's a third party. So when he says Vani, he's not going to be embarrassed like we just said, and he's be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing if I have a baby boy. So Anaf Kamar, so he's talking about himself. I have Rahmanas on our friend, just like you have Rahmanas on our friend. Meaning, you're saying that you're going to become a Nazir if our friend has a baby boy. I'm going to do the same thing as you, right? Again, the tzad that this whole started was maybe a person's going to be too embarrassed to say that he will also become a Nazir if he himself has a baby, because he's not giving enough Rahmanas on the guy, his friend who's complaining that he doesn't have a boy. So, but that's only in front of it. But if there's a third party and his friend says, I'm going to become a Nazir if our friend has a baby boy, and then this guy says, and me too, so it could be there, he's not embarrassed from the guy because the guy that they're becoming Nazir for is not there. So maybe he says, okay, I'll become a Nazir. That's a good idea. You're becoming a Nazir for our friend to have a baby boy. I'm going to become a Nazir if myself has a baby boy, and that's not embarrassing because the person is not there. Or do we say no? He's just teaming up with his friend. He's saying, hey, you're doing a nice thing, so I'm going to do a nice thing too. So tibai. So the Gemara says tibai, which is the same thing as teku, right? In the Darim, we didn't say tekus, we said tibai. Here in Nazir is a continuation of that. The only problem is that in Amar Aleph, the Gemara said teku, right? So Amar Aleph it said teku, and here it says tibai. So, okay, I don't know why it shows one over the other.
What is it says, Hachikamale Rachimanu Le. He's having Rahmanis on him?
Rachimanu Le, I'm going to have Rahmanis on him.
So the members started off, Manya Ben Rechuma says it then. We end up, the end of the member is that it's Rahmanis.
That's very good, Taka. That's very good.
Shmuel said this. I didn't notice it this morning, but Shmuel said in his name. He said that's the only place he is in Shas. It's Gemara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shmuel could say that. I can't say that.
Aaron, very good. That's what that we've always been saying along this issue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so it's interesting that his name was Rahman and he uses the terminology of Rahman. Yeah, very interesting.
But my altar is 80. Yeah.
Oh, Rachamim.
All right, right, very good.
Okay, you're the man of the hour. You're okay. You could sponsor today's daf, Rachamim. Okay. Okay. So Zog the Mishnah, yeah. Another case, another strange.
But see, I
case.
just want to know,
Yeah.
the Gemara over here seems to like to go between Teku and Tibayilcha. In the Durham, they never did Teku. It's interesting. Nazir seems to be like the Gemara is getting somewhat back to the normal thing, but not fully.
Right. So you mean this is a proof that Nazir is like
This
a
is
quasi Nadarim?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's confused. It's trying to get back to normal, but it's not really.
Okay, I hear that shot. I hear that. So it's somewhere in yeah. Okay, good. Fine. So Zog the Mishnah, even though it's a long Gemara, but let's do the Mishnah. Hareini Nazir. Hareini Nazir. If a guy says I'm a Nazir, bin Nazir kishiyeli ben. Okay, so this guy wasn't enough that he's going to be a Nazir when he has a boy. He says, I'm going to be a Nazir, period. Not only that, I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a baby boy. So then what? So he said he's a Nazir, right? So now he's a Nazir. So his film minus Shalai. He started counting his nizirus. And then he had a baby boy before he finished his nizirus. So let's say he announced today he's becoming a Nazir. Okay. So Stam Nazirus is 30 days. Then he says, and if I have a baby boy, I'm going to be a Nazir. So now he starts his Nazirus, and then 15 days later, he has a baby boy. So now what? He has to become a Nazir. Problem is, he's in the middle of his first shift of Nazirus. So what do we do with this? Right? So again, Hareini Nazir, he says, I'm a Nazir, but Nazir Shayili Ben, and I'm a Nazir when I have a son. So he started to count his, and then he had the son. So what do we do? He finishes his 30 days. And then after that, he does so he has 60 days in a row, right? And the Mefarshim say that he gives himself after 30 days, he gives himself the haircut, brings the korbanos, and then he does another 30. That's case number one. Case number two was Hareini Nazir kashiyeli ben. He says, I am a Nazir when I'm going to have a son. Vin Nazir.
Why can't the guy from yesterday's Gemara or 2 days ago Gemara say this is what he meant when he said Chatzi Nazir?
No, he didn't say Chatzi Nazir. He said two Lashonis.
No, but I know, but the guy that said Chatzi Nazir say he meant this guy.
No, when we said Chatzi Nazir, we said there's no such thing as a Chatzi Nazir.
Right. So why doesn't he say that? I meant this guy that said I'm a Nazir or a Ben in 15 days. He should be over.
No, because there's no nizirus less than 30 days. You can't say that.
I'm just playing two Gemaras against each other.
Yeah, I understand. But you can't say that here because he's stammen nazir for 30 days. Okay, so this next case is the opposite. It says Hareini Nazir Shili Ben. First he says I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a son, and then he says Vid Nazir, and I'm a Nazir. Right. So here he was the opposite. The first case, he said he's a Nazir. Then he says he's going to be a Nazir when he has a son. And in this case, he says, I'm going to be a Nazir when I have a son and Nazir, right? So then he started counting his own. And then he had the son. So then he puts down his own. That's a literal translation, meaning he puts his on hold. And he does the 30 days for his son. Right? And then afterwards, he finishes off his own, right? So you see the difference? Because based on what order he became a Nazir is on what order he is going to do this, he's going to do this nizirus, right? Yeah. So, and then l'chayra here, he doesn't shave his head, right? But okay, we'll get back to that tomorrow, but let's just see a few lines in the Gemara because the Gemara asks a question that's based on this Mishnah that's similar. So, and then we'll discuss when exactly he takes the haircuts, etc., etc. So, Bayi Rabba, Amar Hareini Nazir la'achar esem yom. Again, another guy that likes to make things complicated. He says, I'm a Nazir in 20 days. After 20 days, I'm becoming a Nazir. But I'm a Nazir now for 100 days. So again, he says he's going to be a Stam Nazir in 20 days, a 30-day Nazir in 20 days. And then he says, from now, I'm a 100-day Nazir. Mao, so what's the din? Which Nazir, what does he do? So given the Halan Meya Be'esrin Loy Shalmin, do we say that since the 100 days, you can't, it's obviously not going to be over before the 20 days, right? Because 100 is 80 more than 20, right? Again, he said, in 20 days, I'm becoming a Nazir. And then he says, and right now, I'm becoming a 100-day. So what does he keep first? If he keeps the 100-dayer, how can he become a Nazir in 20 days, right? But he also said, Me'achshav. So again, so Kivan Dalin Meya Be'esen Loy Shaman, since he will not finish that 100 within the 20, Loy Chaylan. So it's not Chal. So therefore, it must be that he meant that the 100 is going to take place after the 30 is over. Right? Or say no, Kivan is like Gidol Seir Lebesayv, since he's going to have enough time to grow his hair, because meaning basically, so let him start the 20, then let him do a nizirus of 30 days. Let him start the 100 for the first 20 days. Then let him become a nazir for 30 days. And then he has 80 days to finish up his second nizirus, which is enough time to take a haircut, right? Meaning it's enough growth. It's enough time to have growth. And then chaylim. So given this, like Gidul Seir so chaylim, it's chal right away, right? So then the Gemara. What are you saying?
Why don't you say hair grows every day? The Kohen Gadol. Otherwise, what's he going to a haircut every day for?
Right.
What are they doing?
Right. So you need to have a substantial amount of growth. It seems like just a one day. Meaning, it seems like you have to somehow figure out that he's going to have 30 days of growth in order to cut the hair. I can't say I understand why that should be, but I guess the Stam Nizirus is 30 days. So Gemara says, Nizirus muetes. Why do you need to come up with such a complicated case of 30? He's going to become a 30-day Nazir in 20 days, and then he's becoming a 100-day right now. Just do it with both 30 days, right? Let him say, I'm becoming a Nazir in 20 days for 30 days, and I'm becoming a Nazir right now for 30 days. You have the same question, right? So the Gemara answers, it's true. We're only asking one inside the other one. Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll I just wanted to get the little basic part out of the way, and then tomorrow we'll discuss exactly the studim of this whole shiloh. All right. Everyone should have themselves a fine night.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
The cases of having the son and starting the nizirus right away. I mean, basically on what Rabbi said before, aren't we really chancing chulun la'azara? If he, let's say, becomes tamei halfway through the lamed yom, if he starts it right away and his son ends up not living out the 30 days, he brings the korbanos halfway through it and ends up being chulun la'azara. Isn't that a real meaning? If he starts in nizirus the day one that the baby was born, and then he can become tamei, there's always a chance the guy could become tamei, has to bring korbanos right away. That would end up being chulun la'azara if the kid ends up becoming a nefal.
You're saying so you should have to wait 30 days?
You shouldn't be able to start the nizirus until after 30 days, until we know for sure it's a ben kayam.
Well, maybe you could start it, but you can't bring the korbanos, maybe, no?
But let's say it becomes tamei. Let's say not in a regular case. It becomes tamei 10 days in. He brings the korbanos right away, and he starts his nizirus all over again. I don't think you usually wait for that. It starts immediately.
Right. I'm saying, and why would that be different than any stam nizirus? I'm saying, why are you more concerned he's going to come tamei now?
No, you could always become tamei. The concern is that it's totally on the ben living out the 30 days. Otherwise, it's not a real nizirus to begin with. But never, if the kid didn't live and it was all totally he only became a nazir because he had the son. If the son doesn't live out the 30 days, just like the Gemara said, the whole thing was a safek nizirus with the first son. The second son, we said right away, the first son died, his nizirus didn't count for that one. So we assumed it went on the second son. That was
I'm
the
saying, but what
safek
happens
we
if
had.
he becomes a Nazir? It becomes a Nazir. And then after 15 days of nizirus, the kid dies. So now what?
In a Hanami, he shouldn't start his nizirus until after 30 days. Then it was never nizirus.
So stop a
The kid-
nizirus for waste. He's done wasted. He passed up on all that wine.
No, he shouldn't start. It wasn't a waste. He shouldn't start till after 30 days. If he starts beforehand, there's an issue.
Saying,
See,
what
I
there's
don't
very
understand.
specific korbanos you have to bring if you're a nizirus, if you're a nazir that becomes tnai, correct?
correct.
The he's
Yeah.
asking is, if he's a nafel, we never know. It's a safek. It becomes it's a safek if
I mean,
this
it's
is
become a safek now where they have to bring the tumah korbanos too. That's what you're saying.
correct. That's what he's talking about, the tumah korbanos.
Oh, that's you're
Okay.
saying the tumah.
That was part of it. That wasn't fully
Oh,
my
yeah.
question, but yeah,
That's the whole shiloh. The nizirus never continues if we don't know. You wouldn't continue
Right.
the nizirus if you don't know, right?
Right, I
You
hear
have
it.
to
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
the child. So the child's on the tumah korbanos. Well, you're stuck.
Right.
I hear. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. I hear what you're saying, that you shouldn't start. Okay, that you shouldn't. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure what this whole nafel business is. Was the baby born alive, not born alive? Well, what's going on over here?
I wasn't sure if he started the nizirus right away. My shmois for the Mishna before was that he was mafresh the korbanos. I don't know if he started becoming a nazir. His wife had a baby. He was mafresh he was mentally mafresh the korbanos. Doesn't mean he started the nizirus. He set aside korbanos for whenever he starts the nizirus. It might be after 30 days. And then they had the whole shiloh. The first kid died. His wife had the second kid. I don't know if he necessarily starts right away.
Right. I don't know. I don't know why he separated the korbanos either. I don't understand why he did that.
He was very excited. He said he's going
I
to come in.
guess, but that means, but then you have to say that the baby was born.
The first baby, that's what the Mishnah says. The first baby was born.
And then it died.
And then it died. In
It
between, he was
It
mafresh.
said nafel, no?
The
Hipbil, what did it say?
the
Pila
Pila
Ishtai.
Ishtai. Yeah.
So, which means it was a nafel. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it means it lasted for 10 minutes or so and then it died. I don't know what that means.
Right. Yeah.
I was just curious about the korbanos. It just seems like a very obvious, they're getting themselves into trouble before they even start.
Right. I hear. I don't know. It was not clear to me, this whole, what exactly transpired here is mamish. I don't know what should I tell you. I don't know. Yeah. If you find anything, the other Rabbi, let me know.
Okay.
At Tziyakov, I saw this past Shabbos, they had, by Svard Minyan, they had a Svardim Minyan, they had fig arak.
Oh, yeah.
Arak made out of fig. Would that be like Yoitze, you're having Shivas Yeminim on Tu B'Shvat? If I start drinking fig arak?
I don't know. What alcohol content is that?
Arak? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they make it, but it's,
What's the problem with fig arak? It's very good, no?
Oh, he wants to know if he's yaitza.
It's usually a very
I didn't say there's a problem. I'm saying it's a
He wants to
solution.
know if he's yaitza his fruit on Tu B'Shvat.
And where should I drink that in the order? Does that go before the?
If you're worried about the order, if you want to keep it, then it means you haven't drunk enough. So don't,
I understand that should be. That's why I should start I need to be drinking the fig arak. I just don't know where to start it.
I hear it's a good question, and we'll put it into the Shilas and Chuvas Tu B'Shvat. Yeah.
Never.
Yep. Whatever.
Listen, Tziyakov, we're all searching for Tziyakov. That's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes.
Apparently, Gemara is not working for everyone, so they need other things like Tu B'Shvat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know it doesn't bother me. You got people saying they're making. I'm telling you, one lady says she made shechionu in one place. Now she went to a different place, and they have a different shechionu fruit. Should she make another shechionu? She's not making shechionu. Say I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
it's what we spoke about a few times about Chalamoid and about Purim, Rav Hutner, Rav Shlomo. So now it's like gesund and stark. These Rabbanim, Rav Shor, Rabbi Weinberger. So they're making the Olam aware there's such a yontif as Tu B'Shvat. Nobody ever heard of Tu B'Shvat before. I mean, you know a little bit from the nizirus writes a lot about it, but the mice to make it something that people get connected to and do something. So the Baruch Hashem, they're doing that. These Eden, so good. You know?
I don't know what. Wow, there's a real optimism over there. I love it.
It's true that this is very good schmuck.
Saying all the Rebbes have these huge Paris tishim, right?
Now you can virtually throw apples at us.
What do you mean?
That's what they do. A lot of the Rebbes do by the titian. They throw apples at the people.
Icky. So I'll tell you that, Icky, you gave me a Pesach to say that. I wasn't going to say it, but you gave me a Pesach. I went with Shy Elephant to the Skalena, not this one. The Rebbe, the first, the second Skalena. We went to Tu B'Shvat Tish in Borough Park, and the pushing was fantastic. That's not for me, but anyway. The Rebbe was physically a small man, right? So he was by a table, and he had peklach, and he was giving you a pekel that had a design meaning. That's what he was giving out. Two idiots, mental patients, to have mamash a hockey brawl on top of the Rebbe. They were punching each other out. The Rebbe was sitting there, they were right on top of the Rebbe. Two guys my size and Shai's size, and had a swing out on top of the Rebbe. It was the most horrible thing I ever saw. It was unbelievable. Mamish was punching, smashing guys, punching, throwing each other into the wall over the Rebbe. Right over the Rebbe where the Rebbe was sitting.
I saw by him one time. We were there for Avdallah, and he put out what he did was after he put out the candle. So they would like chuck the tray, the silver tray with all the wine in it, like down the table, because it was the same table they had Shal Shudas by. And the guys would jump. I saw a guy took a towel and jumped over the crowd. He jumped over the crowd, landed on the table, started wiping the towel to get the grapes. To get the wine.
That's gewaldig. Anyways,
I think I told you the story with the cigarette. No,
I don't understand. Were those klippos or those were nizirus that they were grabbing after? What were they grabbing after over there? Klippos or nizirus?
A lot depends on your kavanah, Kiva.
They're creating klippos. That's what they're doing.
That's right.
When we would go by for Shalom, he would grab you on the top of he would grab our hair and yell at us.
You should have shaved beforehand.
Mistama, that's why I'm losing my hair now, because I didn't listen to him then.
Or because he ripped it out.
It was kedai.
Elio, you didn't have a Tu B'Shvat Suda in Phoenix?
I had fruit.
It's early.
It's early. I keep forgetting how early it is. Right.
In all, what's it called? The Rabbi Tursky from Milwaukee winters in Phoenix. I think he actually is having something, or he started actually 10 minutes ago. He's having some kind of shindig tonight.
He winters in Phoenix? That's cute.
Yeah. Listen, if you lived in Milwaukee, you would also want to winter in Phoenix.
But Yaakov, when are you starting to winter in Phoenix?
I'd want to winter in New York. Okay. What are you saying, Akiva?
Lamaisa, if you go from New York to Phoenix, it's not much. You're not much changing the winter. It seems like you're going. It's a lateral
check the
move.
weather today. Check the weather today before you start talking.
Is it 65? They moved up.
We're attacking Icky tonight.
70. We're in the 70s. It was taka hot outside.
I can see you got a stickle tinge or red.
I was in the sun for like 2 hours today. I was at the park.
There you go. All right. Anyway, everybody should have a good whatever they daven for on Tu B'Shvat.
I just like the fact that it's Yaakov. It's a Monday and there's not going to be tachamim. That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing.
That's a beautiful thing.
Well, if you daven Sulit, it's a 50-50, but tomorrow at least you know you're doing Kahaloch.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
It's Yaakov. I was buying Minyan today. On the front where it says you have to say Talmud Matar, It literally, it's there permanently. It says Ein Ayim Tachanun.
Bechlal?
Yeah, it just says Ein Ayim Tachanun. Meaning it's right next to the sign that says you save it same time mother, Ein Ayim Tachanun.
Givaldi.
I don't even know, like, is that, it's like a sign. They just don't say Tachanun.
Wonderful. That's great. Anyways, all right, fine. Well, have
Yeah.
yourselves a fine night.
You want to hear some updates or no? Nothing crazy.
I have
Only
to.
positive.
I have a Zoom call with somebody else now, so stam a chassan, but maybe after.
Zoom call.
Yeah, after. No, positive. Nothing crazy.
All right, fine.
Okay, I'll speak to you.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.